Morning. When I was little, I always felt like I was in a rush to grow up. Sometimes it was forced upon me. I learned to swim. Someone pushed me in the pool. It was sink or swim. Learned to drive, got a car. Called my homie who knew how to drive. Hey, come over, I gotta learn to drive. And just started driving it. But now that I'm older, I see a lot of value in having a childlike wonder about the world. Being free from the world's views and just looking at things through the eyes of a child. That's a really high achievement for an old person to be able to do that. And I strive to do that. So the other day, this plant right here, I threw some roly-polies, pill bugs, you know, the little beetle things that if you touch them, they curl up into a ball. I put some in this plant for the soil. And the plant's doing really good. And the roly-polies are doing really good. There's a whole bunch of them. Every now and then, I'll see one get out and be walking in the house. So I'll go scoop it up, and then I'll put it outside into the side of the house where there's plants. Well, I think on Wednesday, I saw one, and I scooped it up. And instead of throwing it into the plants, I gently threw it into this pot. You know, there's a plant in it, and there's a pot right there. And sometimes I crush up eggshells and put them in that pot. Well, somehow this roly-poly just happened to hit an eggshell and ricocheted out of the pot, and he landed on the floor, which is concrete, you know, the patio. And I thought, oh no, is he okay? And then I watched him for like 20 minutes to see if he would get up. I was biting my nails like, oh man, I hope I didn't kill him. Because he stayed balled up for a little bit, like 2-3 minutes, which is kind of a long time, I think. And then he opened up and he walked in a circle, and I'm like, is he dazed? You know, did I like knock him out when he hit the egg and ricocheted out onto the ground? And yeah, so for about 20-25 minutes, I watched it until it like went into the dirt and disappeared. And that day, despite having a pretty good life, that was the most exciting and best 20 minutes of my day. And so, despite my handle, you know it all, I know I don't know it all. And I would never want to think that I do know it all, because I think at that point we start getting old. When we think we've seen it all, just because we've seen a lot of bad, we start getting old. There's a lot more to see, a lot more to learn. And if you can find a way to see the world through the eyes of a child, like everything's new, it's a real gift that you should protect and not let people take from you. And I could go even deeper and, you know, talk about the philosopher Nietzsche and how he has this idea of a Superman. And I'm guessing it could be a woman too, who doesn't follow the herd. You know, they chart their own path in this world. And in doing so, they leave a good legacy for others. Some don't leave a good legacy, you know, but they affect the world one way or the other. And he says that to become this person, you go through 3 stages. And I'll do this lightly. The first is the camel. Because the camel can take all the hardest shit and smile and still do it. You know, you got to go through this desert that's hella hot. There's no water. Camels up for it. They're strong. But they're not trying to change the world. They're cool. You know, they take on the hardest challenges. They run to the hardest challenges. And they're cool with that. The next phase is the lion, which is trying to tear everything down. See, the camel can take it in this world. It can stand in this world. The lion, it wants to change it. It wants to tear everything down and start anew. And it's also strong. And there's a lot to physical strength. But in this sense, we're talking about spiritual strength, you know, mental strength, what people call, you know, he's got a strong mind. The third and final stage is the child, because the child creates. So now you've been strong, you've challenged the world, and now you get to put it back in a way that you think makes the world better. And you should be able to do that with the freedom that a child has, because kids are creative. You know, now when you think you've seen it all, you know it all, it takes a lot to get stimulated. You know, little things seem like I've seen it, done it. But like a kid, at least when I was a kid, and I see memes to this effect, they got 2 or 3 Hot Wheels cars, and in the dirt, they'll build tunnels and hills, and they just create. And when you're free to create, you innovate, because you're creating new things. And in innovating, you become a leader by default. So that childhood wonder about the world, you know, to me, it's just a happy place to be. You see something. I really was happy watching that potato bug, that roly-poly, to see how it would react from this trauma that I thought it experienced from hitting the eggshell and then the ground. And it wasn't my intent to do that, but that's something I think everybody should strive for. And to quote Nietzsche again, that's something a Superman or woman strives for. It makes them have the power to create. Have a good one. Much love. I should say, you know, I don't celebrate Easter in the typical sense of he has risen. I celebrate it more in the sense of how I think Jesus told us to celebrate. And this is just me, which was by commemorating his death. So my celebration was actually last week. But I hope you guys all have a safe holiday and get to spend time with your families, and, you know, maybe get to see the world through with childlike wonder. That's a cool thing. Have a good one.